All right, welcome everybody to the podcast. And this is the podcast we talk about numerous different things. We talk about sports. We talk about fitness. Today, I have a special guest with me, Chuck Fulkerson, and we're going to talk about the financial markets. Chuck, how you doing today?
Living the dream, brother. Living the dream.
That's awesome. It's been a while since I've seen you. It's good to have you on the show here today. And I just kind of want to dive into these financial markets. There's a lot of confusion with these markets. People are unsure of what to do. We had some pretty big drops in the last couple months here. Had a little rally here. It's coming back a little bit.
Right.
But you have just great knowledge in all assets, the futures market, the options market. I know you do a lot of investing with those. What are some of the current conditions as far as what is your thoughts on what's happening and potentially what could happen in the future with the economy, but also the financial markets?
So that's actually an awesome way to put it, because there's two separate things to look at, right? You've got two separate things. You've got the market and you've got the economy, and they're not the same. And that's where I think most people are confused, because they look and they see, well, highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression, 20% of America's out of work, yet the market has rallied up as of this morning about 35% off of the lows, right? Now, interestingly, we had a 35% drop. We had a 30% drop and a 35% rally, and we're still not back to break even.
Yeah.
But just because the economy is bad doesn't mean that the markets will be, and they've become disconnected, right? They've become very disconnected. The market typically leads the economy by a fair amount. So my personal belief was, when we saw that market crash, it crashed right into a monthly area where we were not overly surprised that prices were going to reverse. I mean, as a matter of fact, I do a daily market commentary on YouTube of, here's what I think the markets are going to do today. And actually there was one where we did, okay, let's look at the monthly chart. And it was obvious it was going to go up. Now, my belief was it was going to rally up 25% and head back down. However, what's great about the markets is I'm not going to try to guess when it turns back down. I'm going to follow the trend. And so I've stayed long for a while for the last few weeks as the market continues to put in lower lows or higher lows and higher highs. And until it tells me to stop buying, I will keep buying. And I don't try to outsmart it. I just do what it tells me.
Well, that's what you want to, because you bring emotion if you try to outsmart it. I mean, no one's going to outsmart the market. It's going to do what it wants to do. But no, you opened up a can of worms there. You mentioned just talking about being long. Now, are you talking stock market, futures, or what do you continue, like, what are you trading right now in these markets?
So for me, on a short-term basis, I look at futures markets on a very short-term basis regularly, right? But what's great about the futures markets is I can use the equities, I can use Forex, I can use commodities, I can use all these different vehicles in the futures. So for an intraday basis and for short time frame trading, futures I think is one of, if not the best asset class, because I get the access to all these different markets. But for longer term buckets, I'm certainly looking at great stock values. There's a number of really good stocks that got beaten down unnecessarily, right? A good example would be something like PayPal.
Sure.
PayPal dropped under $90 a share, and we were looking months before that, we were looking at a strategy called an option strategy called a BFF, a breakout for free, where we were selling $90 puts in order to acquire the stock at 90. Well, it came down to just below that 90. It allows you to get the stock at a great price. And now it's gained huge from those levels.
Sure. Just give a quick overview on what the futures market is. A lot of people have heard of it, but don't really know what it really means. They say, what is the futures market and why would somebody want to utilize it?
Yeah. So the futures market allows you to control an asset, but you take on an obligation to do something with that asset between a given time. So it's a paper asset, but it allows me to control physical products. So for example, I can control physical gold with a paper asset. I can control physical oil with a paper asset. Now, you can get in trouble if you don't know how to do it. You need to have the right education to trade them, because if you don't know what it is, you certainly can lose more than you expect or more than you even put into the position. But it's a paper asset that allows me to control a large amount of product for a small amount of money. And that's the best way to put it up front.
So you have leverage in there. It's a 24-hour market, isn't it?
Yeah, 24-hour market. And the good news about that is the only time you really face a lot of gap or liquidity risk is over a weekend. So what we tell people is that if you're going to get into a futures position on a Friday, just make sure that you hedge that position using options going over the weekend.
Got it. No, you sound like you have a lot of knowledge in a lot of different assets. How did you get started, or what if somebody wanted to get started trading investing? Like, do people should they just go and put their money in, or what do you have? How did you start first?
If they like to lose it, it's a good thing to just go put your money in. If you like to
That's
lose
what a
your
lot
money,
of people do.
they do, man. And it drives me bat crap crazy.
Yeah.
That people will sometimes just go open an account and think they can just figure it out. And so, no, you got to get yourself around other really good traders and investors and people that are already doing it. And I was fortunate enough to be around really good traders, really good investors. I took classes in education and spent a lot of time really working the process, right? A lot of people will talk about overnight success. Well, 15 years later, you can become an overnight success, right? I've been trading for about 15 years.
Okay.
And it's not something that comes right away, right? There was classes in education and losses because you've got to take losses. The only way to learn how to win is to lose.
Yeah. When you started, what obviously you got to find someone to teach you everything. You have to kind of follow what they do and hopefully do what they do. But why do you think so many people just jump? Why is that? Why do people jump in the market without the education?
Well, I think the reason is because it's easy to open an account, right? Anybody can open an account.
That's true.
And frankly, education I think has a I'll call it a high barrier of entry that people are afraid of. Right. Yeah. Number one, nobody likes to admit that they don't know something. That's true. That's one barrier of entry is their own personal ego. And number two is you got to pay to get educated. And not everybody's willing to do that. Right. They think that they can just figure it out on their own. And if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
Yeah, that's the thing. It really amazes me. You see that so many times. I mean, you wouldn't see any other profession just jump in and try to do it without learning. I mean, you can go on for days talking about any profession and it just happens. Right. So, I appreciate that different information on that. Now, we talked about current conditions with the market, what's happening right now. Do you think we didn't really dissect why the economy and the market is different. Do you think the Fed is potentially pumping this market up? Do you think that's part of it?
Well, I think it's more than the Fed. I think it's the Fed, because the Fed is different than the government, right? But the U.S. government has created a favorable tax situation to allow companies to buy back their own shares. And when you're in a favorable tax situation that allows a company to buy back their own shares, and they buy back the shares at a 30% discount, that's going to drive the market higher. Yeah. And so, I believe that the way the current administration set up the tax code was. Now, I'm not one of these people who thinks that our tax code is set up to favor the wealthy. Our tax code is actually very fair when you consider other corporations. We had the highest corporate tax rate in the world before the Trump administration lowered that corporate tax rate to a more even keel. And what that does is that pumps more money back to the companies. Now, a lot of those companies did take a lot of that tax savings and use it as share repurchase programs, which reduces the supply, increases the overall demand, and drives price higher. Combine that with the Fed adding additional liquidity to the overall marketplace, and that's why we're seeing a lot of these things rally up.
Yeah, you mentioned the tax benefits. Really, it favors the creative. If you want to be creative with your situation,
it favors businesses, right? I mean, and that's what people tend to forget. The tax code in this country was built to incentivize people to open and run businesses. Mm-hmm. We're a country of small businesses. Over 60% of America is employed in small businesses, and we tend to forget about that fact, right? We think about Coca-Cola and IBM and GE and Disney and forget about the fact that Joe's widget manufacturer with 80 employees is what's really the backbone of America. And that's what the tax code is designed to protect.
Yeah, you mentioned the buyback. Wasn't American Airlines or Delta or somebody, weren't they just talked about in the news about buying back their shares with all the money they got? Was that something?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that. There's been a lot of companies. I'm not sure about that one in particular, but a number of companies have. And I don't necessarily think it's always a bad thing that they're doing so. They're just, their responsibilities to their shareholders. And so they're utilizing some of those corporate profits and a buyback opportunity to get them back. Now, where it really rubs Americans the wrong way is a company who laid off 25% of their workforce is buying back their own stock.
Yeah.
Right? So now it's really becomes that moral argument, and that's where people tend to jump in there. However, if you don't buy back the stock and your shareholders flee and the company goes bankrupt, then nobody has a job. So I understand both sides of that coin.
Got it. Well, I appreciate all the insight on the markets and everything, Chuck. Do you have any special projects you're doing right now or anything big going on?
Well, I mean, we run tradersarmy.com, which is really, in my mind, designed to be a place for traders and investors to come together. And what people ask us all the time, they're like, what is it that you guys do that's different, right? What's unique? What's special? Sure, we got mentoring and classes and all of that fun stuff, but in all reality, we give a crap. We genuinely want to see these people succeed. And I've gotten on my phone today, I've gotten text messages from members. Hey, should this trade, what do you think about this? How's this going? And we're starting to see a little bit of snowball effect and momentum in the ball rolling. So, it's a real passion of ours. Myself, Corey Lane, Justin Krebs, some of the best instructors that I know, we've all gotten together to kind of create this community, and it's fun and it's cool.
That's fantastic. We need a lot of people out there like you helping a lot of people. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Hope to see you sometime soon. It's been probably, 2 years since I've seen you.
I know, man. It's been a while. We got to get together.
I know. You're down in Dallas. Is it Dallas? Nice warm country?
It is. It's warm down here. It's gorgeous.
Hey, we got 45 today, I think. So I'll take it here, right?
Hey, you guys, that's shorts weather. You guys might get in
it really is
soon.
Hey, it's shorts and tank top. If it's December and 45, yes, you are correct. Today,
no question.
I'm wearing a sweatshirt outside. I'm actually building a waterfall in a pond in my yard today. So
perfect. Yeah, I can. 45 degrees. That's plenty of temperature to do that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, appreciate you coming on. Hope to have you come on soon again, and we will talk to you soon, Chuck.
Love to have it, man.
All right, thanks.